Friends and fellow Scots, I cannot tell you what an honour it is to speak to you today in such a sacred and precious place. We come here today to pay our respects to those who in 1314 fought and bled and died, and those who fought and lived to see what we will be able to see next year. It was the fight of their lives, and it is indeed, as Charlotte said, the fight of our lives next year, when we have the opportunity to regain our freedom and to liberate this country. But as Alan said, we're not here to do it for the sake of the past, but we're here because of the here and now and the future of all of Scotland. Now, all of us have lost very much in the last few years. We've lost friends and loved ones, and we've lost many of our heroes who shared the same values as we do and who had the same hopes as we have. And so, we must, as Alan so very eloquently said, unite the clans. I will, as Alan has said, work with every single person in this country to make our country the land of plenty that we know it is, but to ensure that all of its resources and all of its riches help each and every one of us to create for all of the future generations of this great land the potential and the glories and the beauty that we know we deserve and we can deliver when we have in this country and in our hands the levers of power and the levers we need to turn our economy around, to feed our pensioners and our children, to pay our single working people a decent, honest wage, so they're not having to choose between paying their gas or eating a warm dinner, so that food banks are eradicated and are no longer a suppurating sore on the surface of this land. So, I hope, for once, the rulers of this country and the leaders of every political party in the United Kingdom, and most especially in Scotland, will remember the lesson that the enemy learned on this field 708 years ago, and it was this. On the second day of the battle, when it seemed unclear as to whether or not the foe had been vanquished, all of a sudden there came from behind Gillis Hill in the forest there the small folk, and we stand here today to make sure that the small folk of Scotland have a voice. They are currently voiceless. They live in poverty and in horrible houses, as Charlotte said, and as I said earlier, some of them can either heat or eat, but they can't do both. Well, these small folk were comprised of the men who were too old or too infirm to fight, and the women of Scotland who looked after the men, and the men that were on the battlefield. They helped to bury the dead when they weren't feeding the living or tending their wounds. And it is the women of Scotland who must ensure that there is unity within our movement, because you only have to look across the ocean at what is happening in the United States of America to understand how very important it is to be able to say that we have the equality of the sexes, which in Scotland is so precious. So, Boris Johnson, are you watching? Because there is nothing that the hammer of the Scots feared more than when the people of Scotland stood as one. And that, my friends, is what we will do. We will create an independent Republic of Scotland, which is for every Scot born here, arrived here, newly arrived here, and who will, as Alan said, be welcome here. Bring us, your refugees and your asylum seekers, because in Scotland they will not be bound and gagged and handcuffed and dragged onto a plane to be sent to a stinking, rotten foreign country. Instead, they will find what we like to call breed, barley brie and painted room. One last thing, because I cannot get these words wrong. Our demands, they are most moderate. We need not kneel, our cause it is high. Of true women and men there is no dearth, and our victorious rallying cry shall be, we want the earth, this earth, our country, our Scotland, free Scotland, independence 2023.